English speaking practice. Promise not to. I promise not to sing. He promised not to smoke. He promised not to tell. Promise not to tell anyone. I promised not to tell. Tom promised not to tell. Tom promised not to smoke. Tom promised not to laugh. I promise not to laugh. She promised not to tell anyone. Tom promised not to hurt Mary. Tom promised not to hurt us. I promise not to tell Tom. You promised not to do anything. Tom promised not to tell Mary. Tom promised not to drink any more. I promise not to judge you. Tom promised not to do that. I promise not to be late. Tom promised not to screw up. He promised not to tell another lie. She promised not to go out alone. Tom made me promise not to tell. You promised not to do that again. Tom promised not to be late again. Tom has promised not to be late. I promise not to leave without you. I made Tom promise not to tell Mary. Didn't Tom promise not to do that? Tom has already promised not to do that. Tom has promised not to come here anymore. Do you promise not to tell anyone anything? Tom promised not to go out after dark alone. You promised not to be rude to me anymore. Tom promised not to spend any more money today. Tom admitted he did what he promised not to do. Tom didn't keep his promise not to tease Mary. I admit I did what I promised not to do. I'll tell you if you promise not to tell Tom. Tom made me promise not to tell Mary his phone number. I promise not to wake you up when I get home. I admitted I did what I'd promised not to do. I admit that I did what I promised not to do. Tom admitted that he did what he promised not to do. I would have told you, but Tom made me promise not to. We promised not to discuss it with anyone until the next day. I would have told you, but Tom made me promise not to tell. I'll lend you my textbook if you promise not to write anything in it. I'll lend you my bicycle if you promise not to let anyone else ride it. I want to tell you something. But it's a secret. Promise not to tell anyone.